What's going on, YouTube? We are back with the Zero Tolerance 0055. Super highly anticipated knife for 2017 when this thing was announced at SHOT Show. I was stoked for it. For some reason when it first came out I wasn't as excited about it, but then I just kind of kept fighting it back and I thought, you know what, I just got to pick one up, and man am I glad I did. It's a freaking awesome knife. So let's go ahead and just get started. Basically talk about the specs first. Your overall length on this guy is 8.75 inches with a blade length of 3.75 of S35 BN steel with a thickness of 0.16. You can see how it tapers there due to the swedge, which is pretty cool. We'll get into that. There, see, I've heard this called a reverse tanto. I've heard it called a modified Wharncliffe. Go either way, I think. I can see both ways on that one, so we'll leave it at that. Flat ground on the blade with a stonewash finish with a 5-inch handle. Thickness in the handle is 0.56. So it's pretty thin. It's not terribly thick. I like them to be right around 0.5 or under, but not too bad. You have a weight of 5 ounces, which is pretty dang good for this size of a knife. And you have a tip-up clip with the SLT flipping technology based on the Gus, I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, Cecchini of GTC knives. And it's, the SLT flipper is his, and this is based on the airborne design is what my understanding is. And it features this. This is the main feature of this knife that makes it so unique, is this flipper tab that goes hidden. When you flip it, bam, disappears. They did that to keep the aerodynamic lines of the knife, and you can see it right here. After you flip it on the show side, you can't see it at all. So we'll talk more about that mechanism here in a second. But one thing that I want to bring up about this knife that I really like, well, actually let's start with the bad things for fun. We'll just start with the bad things. Some of these could be also seen as good things, but the bad thing about this knife is it's pretty ugly. I mean, I like it, I like the design, but it's kind of an ugly knife. Especially, I feel like when it's closed, it's much better looking. It's got some really cool, geometric lines, but the blade shape when the knife is open, it's kind of ugly. And that was one reason why I was like, I'm not sure, I'm not sold on that blade shape. It's got this odd compound grind, which, there is a reason for that. A part of the GTC design also had that, and we'll get more into that in the good part of this knife, but I could see that being a negative for a lot of people because of the difficulty in sharpening of this. So it's a pretty good sized knife. A 5-inch handle is a little larger than I like to EDC, but it's not terribly big. One negative on this design is this handle comes to a kind of a point here, and that kind of hits you in the hand, and if you're getting out of your pocket, it's not sharp, but it kind of is. It's pointy, we'll call it pointy. Another negative I would say is the pocket clip. A lot of people have been replacing it with different types of clips, a Timascus one, and I don't, it's not that the design of the pocket clip is bad. It's not a standard black ZT clip. That's better. And I'll show you here how it carries in the pocket in a second. That's one of the issues, is you have a ton of knife sticking out. That's one thing I don't like about the pocket clip. The backspacer, it's such a cool looking knife with lots of intricate milling, and then you throw a blue aluminum backspacer. I mean, could have gone titanium. That would have looked cooler. Just a plain titanium backspacer even. The blue aluminum kind of just sits out there to me is kind of odd. Other than that, those are kind of some negatives I would say of this knife. Now let's show you how that carries in the pocket real quick before we get into the positives of this knife. So this is one of the negatives, is the clip only goes that far, so you have a pretty good hunk of steel sticking out. So if you're trying to be more discreet in carrying this, it's not going to work. I have seen some guys use some deep carry clips from other ZTs with the 2-hole pattern, and kind of takes away from the design for me, so I'm on the fence about that. So the handle is an interesting, let's talk, actually before we get into that, let's talk about the SLT. So there's a few ways you can flip this. You can kind of pull this back and then preload it. I'm doing this left-handed, by the way, and it flies open. Or if you want to do it fast, you can just, bam, just kind of go with it. That's left-handed flipping, guys. I mean, keep this in mind. I'm a righty. I can do it even faster on my right hand. The action on this guy is awesome. It's super smooth. Feels so nice. Just silky smooth. The flipping action is very satisfying. It's like thwack. You know, you just hear that coming out, and you're like, man, here's an XM18 that actually has a pretty good detent, and it just doesn't even compare. Doesn't even compare. How about the Gavco Custom Knife Factory Spinner? It's a good flipper. Doesn't even compare. The action on this thing is crazy. Crazy good. And I like that. It's one of the things I'm really attracted to about this knife is the action is fun. It's just so fun to flip and to, you know, play with. Basically, we do that. We flip our knives and we just kind of fidget with them, right? This was a perfect fidget toy. Hey, this is the new fidget spinner, but it's not a spinner, you know. Fidget toy. I can see this being a popular knife for a lot of people just for that very reason. So the SLT mechanism works well. You can see it hidden right here. It just makes for a really fun knife. It makes for a lot of fun. Really fun to flip. I've said fun a lot in this. So I like that. I also like how different this knife looks. Yes, it's titanium, and yes, it's gray. We'll talk more about that. But look at that handle. I mean, that is unique. You do not see these sharp edges and lines and geometric, you know, shapes, this milling. It's just a very unique design. To me, this knife looks like a knife that ZT would bring out on their premium side, like the 999 this year, the 888 in the past, some of the crazy, that new Sinkovich, I don't think it's come out yet, crazy looking designs that they've come out with, and they've made them limited run, pretty expensive, you know, $450 plus in the dollar knives. This to me feels like one of those knives from ZT. It's not though. It's $220. It's a regular production model. I think they have done an incredible thing bringing this knife out with this complex of a mechanism, with this crazy, you know, handle and this compound blade grind. For that price point is pretty amazing. You know, they really have brought a GTC custom into everyone's hands. Very affordable. That is really cool. So I love that part about it as well. And I've had a lot of those limited run ZTs, and this feels like one of those to me. It just feels better than most ZTs in this price range. Again, I've talked about how fun it is. It's innovative. It's different. It's just a breath of fresh air in the boring titanium gray flipper frame lock knives. It's just different. Now it is titanium, obviously. It does have black hardware, which on this knife actually works pretty well. I like the pivot too. It's not just a plain pivot. It's decorative. You get your torques on this side. I like that about it as well, but I feel like this knife is just begging to be customized. And if you guys don't follow Dr. Frunke on YouTube, you need to, or his Instagram, or both. He does lots of different has lots of knives customized. He just did one of these. I believe it was Fanatic Edge that did it, along with a Pruvish Blades kind of collaboration, and they did this cool green blue anodizing. It looks really cool. This knife to me screams, you need to do something to this. You don't leave this one alone. And I'm going to do something to this one. I don't know what yet. I haven't decided. I got some... Just getting a drink. I got some ideas. I might do some Cerakote route. Well, no. We'll see what happens. But it's definitely one I feel like it's just great for customization. You know what's surprising about this knife? For all the sharp turns and angles it has, it's actually comfortable in the hand. It looks like it would not be. It looks like this is an ergonomic nightmare. It's not. It's actually very comfortable, and I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can get a better in-hand shot. I feel like your hand, I'll just use my left hand because it's easier on camera, it just rests really. It's got this sharp angle right here. You'd think, man, that's going to cause a hot spot. You know what? It doesn't. You get your hand in there and it's just comfortable. There's no jimping up here, which I kind of would like to see, but that's okay. It's comfortable in this grip. It's comfortable in a reverse grip. It's actually really comfortable in this grip. You got this nice, that angle actually goes to your advantage here, and you can put your thumb up here. I mean, it's surprisingly comfortable in the hand. It's one of those things that I was like, that thing looks like it's not going to be comfortable to use. It is. It's very comfortable to use. One other thing that I found interesting, and you know, this is kind of a negative, but I see it as a positive as well in a lot of ways. You can look at it as a positive. The compound grind. The edge is thinner on this front tanto-ish portion of the blade, and then it is back here. You have a thicker grind behind the edge, and more, you know, stout, robust grind, and you have the tip, and the tip. But doing this compound grind, so you have a thinner edge right here. It's 0.30, which it's not. You know, ZTs are kind of known for being thick behind the edge. That's not bad for a ZT. I want to say it's lower than most, but typically you're going to have if you have a thinner grind right here, you're going to have a weaker tip. Because of this compound grind, look how sturdy and beefy that tip is. It's not going to break on you. But you do have a thinner edge up here for more fine cutting tasks. I found that to be the case, and I really enjoyed using this, especially this part of the blade. This part didn't interfere. You know, I did some cardboard cutting and such. It did not interfere with anything. It cut just fine. I've used it to just do basic EDC tasks, no food prep or anything with it. It might be kind of more challenging. I think you would use this portion of the blade. But I've always kind of been a fan of tanto blades, which this is kind of a reverse tanto or modified Warncliffe. But because of that, like, kind of secondary edge you have to use to, you know, you don't have to use the whole edge. You can just use that one portion. The negative side is there's not belly, you know, involved there. This kind of gives you a little belly here at this compound grind. So I like the grind. It's unique and funky looking, but it is actually very functional. So alright, I think, so I was mentioning it's 0.3 up here, it's 0.335 behind the edge here, and I measured that with my digital caliper. So I'm not super thin, and like I said, the large Nkosi is 0.2, which is nicely thin behind the edge, but not bad for a ZT. ZT's known to run their blades thicker for more durability and strength. Same with the Rockwell hardness on their S35VN and their other steels. They run it a little softer, so it's tougher. So people always kind of, oh, ZT doesn't know what they're doing. No, they actually know exactly what they're doing. That's their intended purpose of their heat treat. So it's, yeah, their S35 doesn't perform as well as a Chris Reeve or a Kaiser S35, but it is built, you know, it's a little tougher as well. So these knives are built for first responders. Now, is this a first responder knife? I don't know. Could be. I don't think that would be my first choice. I'd want something with a little more grip and a little more utilitarian, but this is definitely unique and flashy, you know, kind of mean, murdery looking design. But I really like it. I'm just enjoying the heck out of it, and for the price, I think everyone should buy one because it's a unique piece, and it's just something different that's on the market right now. So props to ZT for bringing it to us for such a good price, because this easily could have been a limited run, you know, and been a lot more expensive, and not everyone would be able to enjoy it. So I got to give them props for that. Alright guys, that's going to wrap up my review on the ZT0055. Any questions or comments, leave them down below, and we'll see you on the next video.